All hell is breaking loose right now in the Middle East as Donald Trump's ill-fated invasion of Iran is backfiring. Folks, the Trump regime has just issued urgent evacuation orders for Americans in the Middle East rather than telling the Americans how the Trump regime plans on helping them or how the Trump regime will provide emergency airlifts. Instead, the Trump regime State Department has posted the following: depart now via commercial means due to serious safety risks. If you're in, then it lists every Middle East country. Get out now via commercial means. Now, the Trump regime has gutted the State Department, and so there's no one who can physically help the people, the American citizens who are now abandoned in the Middle East, and the Trump regime just left our citizens stranded there with no way of getting out, saying, go leave via commercial means, when the airports in all of these Middle East countries are under attack right now from Iran, which Iran and everybody was warning the United States would happen if the U.S. engaged in the invasion. Now, the Assistant Secretary of State, who was runs hair salons, that's one of the reasons I think she was selected, she says, Rubio and the State Department urges Americans, depart now from the countries listed below. And she tells people to take commercial planes. There's a war right now that's engulfing the whole Middle East. We have multiple American service members who are killed, and the number of service members killed continues to increase. The number of seriously wounded American soldiers continues to increase. There are air sirens that are ringing in all of these countries right now, and Iran is targeting the airports and the commercial centers and anywhere where there are U.S. interests involved. As I am recording this, alert sounds in Dubai moments ago as Iran is launching massive ballistic missile attacks on Israel, as well as Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates. Also, sources have told Reuters, we can now confirm this as well, that there have been multiple explosions heard in Riyadh's diplomatic quarter in the last few minutes following an Iranian drone strike against the U.S. Embassy. Indeed, there have been explosions there, and the United States Embassy in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia, has been hit. Fortunately, there's nobody in there, and we do not believe there's any casualties at this point in time. But folks, what a complete and utter disaster there. You can see the smoke and the burning of the United States Embassy in Riyadh. Also, in a release from the Kuwaiti army, the Kuwait General Staff has said they are now dealing with another barrage of Iranian missiles and drones that are in the airspace over Kuwait. Air raid sirens, as I'm recording this, air raid sirens going off now in Bahrain. With all this taking place, Donald Trump has called News Nation. He called Kelly Myers from News Nation, and here's what he tells her. She goes, I just spoke to Donald Trump. He said, you'll find out soon what the retaliation will be for the attack on the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, for the U.S. service members killed. He also told me he doesn't think boots on the ground will be necessary. Also, Donald Trump was asked if he worried about other potential attacks on U.S. sites. Donald Trump said, that's just part of war. It's part of war. Whether people like it or not, that's the way it is. He also said that he expects there to be many more deaths and injuries because that's part of war. Now, about an hour or so ago, maybe a little longer than that, Marco Rubio held a press conference. He's the Secretary of State, and he was asked, what was so imminent that we had to attack Iran immediately when the mediator, the foreign minister from Oman, said that there was basically a deal in principle reached between the United States and Iran for Iran to give up all of their uranium enrichment? Why did we believe it was so imminent when all everybody was apparently waiting for was just some technical things on Monday from the International Atomic Energy Agency? Why did we go to war imminently? And Marco Rubio, I'm just going to play for you what Marco Rubio said earlier. He said it was imminent because Israel told us, Netanyahu told us, that they were going to strike Iran. So if Israel struck Iran, then we believed Iran was going to strike us. Therefore, we had to strike Iran. This is beyond parody, except this is real life. Do you realize what you're saying, Marco Rubio? So it wasn't, you went on the offense because you believed that if Iran had to defend itself from an invasion of Israel or an attack from Israel, that then they were going to strike the U.S. Do you realize what you're saying, Rubio? This is what you're saying out loud too? I mean, listen to it for yourself, everybody. Play this clip.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
Then Marco Rubio repeats it again, just so there's no misunderstanding. He goes, I've been asked, why did we invade Iran now? And then he said, because Israel was going to invade Iran first, and if they did that, we believed Iran was going to strike U.S. interests, so therefore we had to attack Iran first. What the hell are you saying? That's why? Maybe you tell Israel, don't do that. We're negotiating a deal. What are you doing? Here, play this clip.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond and respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
And then, just so you see, this is the talking point of these demons, and I'm trying to think of the right word for them, of these demons. MAGA Mike Johnson, the Republican Speaker of the House, he then says, we had to do it. It's common sense. Israel was going to attack first, then they would attack us, so we had to attack first with Israel. What? Here, play this clip.
They had to evaluate the threats to the U.S., to our troops, to our installations, to our assets in the region and beyond, and they determined, because of the exquisite intelligence that we had, that if Israel fired upon Iran and took action against Iran to take out the missiles, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets. We have troops in harm's way, and we have many Americans in the region, and that was of a great concern.
And then Donald Trump's ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Walls, goes on state regime media. He goes on Fox, and he's like, and we're all in great hands because Melania Trump presided over the United Nations Security Council today, and she talked about a peace plan. I kid you not. They are saying that because Melania took control of the United Nations Security Council, that will lead to long-term peace. What? Here, play this clip.
Not handing it over to the next generation. And to that point, you have the First Lady. Today, Melania Trump is the First Lady presiding over the Security Council, talking about education, actually the lack of education that often leads to radicalization, and looking over the horizon, and that an educated populace, especially with new technology,